Many thanks for rejoining us again. And the program is Good Morning Abuja, showing only on the Unity Station, NTA Channel 5. And also our very first conversation on the program today, we want to talk about peaceful coexistence. Peace is what we need to live together, to be able to do so many things together and to achieve a maximum result. This morning, I have a peace advocate with me here in the studio. Help me welcome Professor John Uket to the program. Prof, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right.
Good to be here.
Yes, good to have you again
Yes,
after a while.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, this
Yeah.
morning we are looking about peaceful coexistence. You know, we need peace to stay together, and it is not devoid of understanding one another. Now, in your opinion, what does peaceful coexistence mean, and why is it very important?
Yeah. Basically, I want to believe that peace is more or less the element that makes up a healthy society. So, peaceful coexistence, in essence, would translate to our ability as individuals to live in peace and harmony and to shun hostilities. So, that is what it is.
Okay, thank you so much for that short explanation of what it's all about. Okay, talk to us more about how can different cultures and religion contribute to peaceful coexistence in our society.
Yes, I think culture, religion, and ethnicities, as well as political divides, play vital role in restructuring peace in a system. They contribute largely to ensuring that the society finds peace. Because where there's peace, there's development. Where there's peace, there's this level of understanding. So now cultures are very key drivers of peace, and also religion, key drivers of peace. Now, why this proposition? Because where once this is lost, for example, in religious setting, you have religious crisis, maybe between, as we've experienced in Nigeria over time, you are one religion against the other, because at that point, the component of peace has not become central to any of the religion. So that's why at this point of our nationhood, transiting about 25 years of unbroken democracy, and also looking at the challenges we have, multidimensional challenges, ranging from youth restiveness, banditry, insecurity, militancy, insurgency, and just name it. At this point, we must be able to redefine peace from the basis of society, from the point that influences the society most. And one of those points is culture. Yes. And also religion. And that's why over time I've advocated where government could be able to use the instrument of our religion to drive peace in society. What do, for example, what do the people here? Because Nigerian is more or less a religious nation, yes, like it or not. Yeah. Our conscience may say we're a secular nation, but in reality, we are more or less driven towards, we tilt towards religion. So, and as such, we must be able to know what are the things that our religion dish out to the people who are the ardent followers of this religion. Do they preach peace? And how does that translate to the developmental objective of governance? Because, for example, I've said when the European came, they came in with a religion. Yeah. Even when the Arab came through the north, they came in with a religion. So for them to achieve whatever they could have achieved, the colonization, the recapturing, the conquest, all were more or less ideologies of religion in one way or the other, and culture. So these two elements, once we're able to invest in these two elements and use them as our national objective, to drive our national objective, you discover that we'll surpass most of the challenges. Because are you calling it farmers headers clashes? These persons are inclined to a culture, they are inclined to a religion. So if the government will be very intentional about it, then I think we'll be able to sum up most of these challenges using culture, religion, and other components in the society to drive peace.
Oh, thank you so much for that response. It's really a great one. Okay, now that going with the economic situations, we have a lot of agitations here and there. Youth restfulness, like you just mentioned. Talk to us more on the role of peace. What do you think we have to do with peace so that we can shun violence? We can shun a lot of vices at the moment. We know that times are hard. Everyone is going through what we call what is not normal. So, what is the role of peace in all of this?
Well, I think that is where it becomes very integral because peace is not the absence of war.
It is not.
So we must also understand how to be very deliberate about peace as a nation. Because if you look at our national objective, where does our national objective lead? Does it lead to peace or tendencies that tends to breed acrimony, divisive tendencies, or that? So now, as a nation, we are in a transition. Well, our democracy may be young, but then we don't need to wait for 100 years or 200 years like the United States for us to surmount most of these challenges. Because all we need to do is to look at where does our strength lies as a nation. And then do we have deliberate policies on peace? Now look at all the sectors. Now it will baffle you to understand that when you're talking about peace, it's just been like more or less seen as an agenda for the security agencies to drive. Yes, maybe community leaders to drive. No, it should be a collective effort. And then our development strategies must also tilt towards a peaceful coexistence, wherein you'll be able to look at the object of governance. Once governance tends not to be in tandem with the realities of the time, it will be said to be bad governance.
Yes.
And once that is involved, then it will tend to provoke certain tendencies from the people, a sort of resistance. So, and also to grow an economy, you must also understand these indicators that once you're able to have a stable society, a stability, you'll be able to have an economic growth.
Yes.
So, but where that is lacking, for example, now we see vandalization of the oil pipelines, we see vandalization of government properties, and it is at the cost to the government and also a deficit to posterity. So, how do we negate this trend? Then it must be something that the government must also look at policies that has to do with peaceful coexistence. We don't have that. Policies that are deliberate on our coexistence as a people. What are those policies? Is it via the health sector or our maybe or let me just mention like maybe humanitarian sector, whichever way we must be able to, because at this point you see Nigeria is in the West African sub-region, and now this West African sub-region is a multi-layer of conflict. And as a multi-layer of conflict, we can see what has happened over this about the past 3 years.
Yes.
We see from just name the countries around. And what happened, you'll be surprised to note that we have a lot of internally displaced persons as a result of this conflict. We have refugees and refugees as a result of this conflict. For example, if you get to somewhere, Benue,
Yes.
Ogoja, you have Cameroonian refugees there. So you discover that once we negate the essence of peace, there's a pressure on the economic policies, and that tends to create more endanger the prospect of government in delivering good governance and democratic dividends. So,
all right, I want to come in at this point. Yes, I must agree with you because you say that in having peace, it is a deliberate effort.
yes.
We want you to talk to us more about the role of government in enforcing peaceful coexistence. But let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more on that. Okay, we have been talking about peaceful coexistence on the program. Let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we'll have more on the topic. Stay with us, please. Welcome back, and my resource person is still here with us. Before we went on that break, we said when we come back, you talk to us more about the role of government in ensuring peaceful coexistence.
Yes, yes. The role of government in ensuring peaceful coexistence cannot be overemphasized.
Okay.
And also, it remains very unequivocal in the context of the modern Nigeria.
Okay.
So, you see, because, for example, you could hear from the papers just this week or the past 2 weeks, they drive agitations from certain quarters, the people are hungry, a whole lot of both insinuation like that within political lines. And as such, what can government do? You see, communication is key in governance. Now, if you watch the US election, just you discover that they even at the level of candidacy, you know, or at the level of aspirations, you have the leaders talking with the people, they engage the people. Now, the disconnect between government and the governed is more or less one of the things that must be addressed because peace thrives where communication is considered or given a priority.
Yes.
So, but then it's like a man living with a woman in the house. You don't talk, you are married.
How
So
will you,
you
go
understand? He
on?
serves you the food, and then
Wow.
so you discover that at a point everybody will feel that I'm not wanted here. The same thing happens. So, and what are the modalities that the government is putting in place
Okay.
to communicate peace to the people? So if that is not in place, then we'll still live in the and also the government must also develop templates,
Okay.
an action plan
Okay.
that tends to give peace, make peace a prospect in Nigeria. Do we have a peace plan in Nigeria? With all we've gone through from the Civil War of 1967 to 1970, in fact, and that. So what is a peace plan we have? Because most of the things happen in Nigeria, we sweep it under the carpets. In that we look at ethnic coloration, we look at political divide, and then someone will say, okay, when you cross from one party to another, then your sins are covered, and all those kind of things. No, you see, those things do not breed peace. If you look at what happened in Rwanda, the government became very deliberate, the Hutus and the Tutsis, and they that alone prompted a forgiveness that today has translated into a development objective of Rwanda. Today, Rwanda is a sought after nation. You can see the exploit that has been done. What happened in South Africa? The Truth and Reconciliation Commission or so. So people, it was more or less a plan, a strategy to harmonize grievances and also to tell people that you're wanted in this nation. So, but what happened? Ask yourself fundamental question. When there was the Civil War, what was the post-Civil War plan? Were they able to integrate a plan that could see certain persons from a certain ethnic group not to be aggrieved about the Nigerian nation? So after 40 years, after 50 years, you see someone going back to tell you, I am aggrieved because of what happened in 1967. You know why? Because the Nigerian nation does not have a peace plan. So it is time for us to look at what is the peace plan for this country.
Okay.
It may be a 10-year plan. Let's address the grievances. A man in the north tells you, okay, I'm aggrieved and maybe we have been having insurgency because of this and this. What is the peace plan? It doesn't just stop at forgiving the repentant terrorists and then enlisting them into the military. That is not a peace plan.
Okay, as we, in your own suggestion now, the peace plan should be drawn. Let's come to the table, put our heads together, and make a very positive headway. I've been given sign already. Quickly before we go, your last word as you talk to us.
Yes, peace is what Nigeria need. Every young man listening to us this morning must embrace peace.
Okay.
Our government must know that bad governance will take away peace from our nation. So our leaders must be deliberate about peace in what they do and what they do not. So we must be deliberate about peace. We must live for peace. We must preach peace. And also, let's have more of peace communicated to families, to institutions of government, and I think Nigeria will be better for it.
Thank you so much for this wonderful advice.
Thank
We
you.
do really appreciate your time with us on the program this morning.
Baby, thank you.
All right. Yes, we have heard it all from Professor John Uket, who is a peace advocate. Let's all embrace peace. Let's be deliberate about making sure our society is peaceful. And as we do that, we have a number of developments here in our nation, especially in Nigeria. The program is still Good Morning Abuja. Let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we have more for you. Stay with us, please.